it's hard to always figure out how we end up in a certain spot, because I don't think you ever really know what's going to come out of opportunities or new ventures or when you pivot in life. And I've had a few of them. But I think it's speaking freely and really honestly, I think for me, how I ended up here and even here isn't a destination. I mean, this is constant learning. I don't know where I'm going to be in a year, 5 years, all that stuff, right? This is one of those avenues I've ventured down, and it's turned out to be this incredible thing. But I think it's never a destination. It's just, we're always trying to, I think, improve and grow. And my whole thing about life is like, I'm trying to max out my potential. Will I ever get there? Probably not. But I'm trying to do that in different avenues of my life. And this was one way. And so for me growing up, and even, I used to be a teacher too, taught high school for 7 years. And even in that, for me, I think an underlying theme for me, maybe different than Kim. My parents were teachers. So that always, I was like, yeah, I'll go teach. I must be a little bit good at that, because if my parents are doing it, maybe that's in my avenue. And I enjoyed it. But one thing about my personality too is like, I think I've always been very open to trying new things, And I literally, after 7 years of teaching high school, went and got my master's in education. I'm like, I'm going to go be a vice principal, maybe go teach at a college, because you needed your master's degree for that. And crazy as it is, I actually, before I started being an entrepreneur, I was actually offered a college basketball coaching job and teaching job. And I literally turned it down and quit teaching. And my brother and I traveled across country to open up Doggy Boutique. So that should show you a little bit of where, I don't know if that was smart, but like, that's how open I am to doing things. I left my pension. I left, like, it just felt, and I was 29, maybe 29, because I met you only a couple years after that. But that was my headspace, in that maybe I'm a little bit more open to trying different things. And sometimes I feel like if people in general can just open up that door just a little bit and stick your head in and have a look around a little bit, I think there's some really cool things out there for people. And you might fail at a few things. If we're talking business, you might fail at a few things and stuff, but man, that's where that growth part is. So I think my personality, I've always been open to different stuff, and my own willingness to pivot on the extreme, I think has led me down some really cool paths. And I don't even know if I'm answering your question, but that's sort of where.
You answered my question. I want to ask you this is because I find this idea of just saying yes and going with it so fascinating, because I feel like that I have that too. And what's interesting is my parents didn't really, and I wonder if yours did. And do you feel like it's inherent? Well, I would say definitely my mom did not. My dad did a little bit more. And then do you kind of take that but do you feel like you got that from nurture? You like, where do you think that came from?
I think it's probably a little bit of both. I'm okay with risk. I always have been. I don't mind opening myself up to risk in trying to advance my life, whether it's financially or, but I think probably my father and my mom and dad are very different people. Not together anymore. That's how different they are. But my father, he was a superintendent of schools. So while he had a quote unquote government job, he had failed grade 10 and moved his way up and obviously became successful in his field. But this is going back almost 30, 35 years ago, literally when the internet just came out, like brand spanking new, where it was like crackle to get the connection. You remember that?
Oh, like and the little CD in the CD. Oh yeah, I remember that.
So what he was like one of the first school districts to actually have online education. And his district earned a lot of money from that because he would sign up students from across the country. And this is when this just didn't happen. This is like early internet days. So that was his sort of entrepreneurial stuff. And they owned a couple businesses before that. So I would say, yeah, I don't know if entrepreneurship in itself is familial, if that's the word to use. I think being open-minded enough to risk some things is more familiar with. That's what I got from my father. He always taught me like ready, fire, aim was his motto. So you go do it, you figure it out after, and let's just get going on it and don't overthink things. So I think that I got from him.
So I think, Kim, that's probably, I don't know how you feel, but that feels like it's the opposite of how many women are. Many women tend to, we want to know all the answers, or we want to know all the answers in a certain area, or we overthink everything. We feel all our feelings. We feel a lot of feelings about our feelings. Like there's a lot going on there. So I'm curious if you have always had that entrepreneurial spirit, or kind of how you got to, because we'll come back to the pet store in a minute. So talk to me about how you got here, your path too.
I was the very best employee. I am a star employee from age 13 all the way up till 4 years ago. 4 years ago, February 15th was my last day working as an employee. So I'm talking, that's a lot of years. That's a lot of decades. And when I say I was 13 working, I was a camp counselor, had a ton of fun. It was like, just a babysitting, just for all listeners being like, what does she mean? But it was work, right? You're being paid, you were still being employed. And technically that really counts. I've had a passion, from when I was really young to serve people. I'd always loved being in rec and leisure. And my dream job was to be basically like the cruise line director of like all the things, which is hypothetically what we do now in wellness and health and making people laugh and feel amazing. So it's like really neat how full circle this has come. But
you're Julie from The Love Boat.
I was.
I'm aging myself, I know, but.
No, and I loved it so much. And here's what I know though. I went through, like, if I looked at all my name badges from all my years of employment, there's probably 28 titles. Because I have just constantly wanted to grow and learn and lead. And for me, I do think there was entrepreneurial spirit there, but I didn't know what that even meant. Because I would not have been in so many different roles, fast forward so fast from being a manager to the mentor, to the global mentor, to the team mentor. Like my roles were so fast in the years, right? Like
you made your company a lot of money.
I did. And I would get awards for us. And it was so funny. Jamie and I were actually driving back home when we had gotten the call that our team was in the top 10. And I looked at him and I'm like, do you remember when I made this idea up to bring this cyber seniors for seniors, and we made a huge thing and we got this huge innovation award for all of Ontario? I'm like, do you remember that? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I think I forget that I did all that stuff before without being asked. I was never asked to go be innovative. I was never asked to go be a research student. I was never asked to be like, I was paid a salary and no more. And I would work 50 to 70 hours to just keep on going. And when I resigned from my one corporate job, Julie, they replaced me with 2 full-time professionals because I was doing the work of 2 people for over 4 years, pulling that. So do I think that's entrepreneurial? Hell yeah. Because the work ethic I have, the grit I have, the tenacity I have, the way I showed up in like my confidence that was so fake, because I was terrified on the inside that I was doing it all wrong. Because in the corporate world, you're not told how great you are. You're not told that things are good. You're just given that at your yearly annual raise, and you're just like hoping that you're getting some feedback. So for me, moving into this role and starting to build my own business, I was kind of used to not knowing whether or not I was doing it right, but I'm just going to keep on going. And that served me well. I think a lot of people that depend on kudos from other people to build and they thrive off of being told they're good enough that they keep going actually is a detriment in a unique entrepreneurial business, because the only way you're going to understand that is by you understanding that you just need to keep going and you need to create your own proof. You need to create your own evidence that you are rocking it by the impact you're making, by where you're going with strides in your business and all of those kind of things. So to answer your question, no, I never thought that I was entrepreneurial. I didn't. But if I look back in the microscope of my life, and the tenure of the last 3 decades of work, because that's about where I'm at almost. Woo, it's a long time. I'm dating myself here. That that's a lot, right? So I kind of realized that when I first started this business and going out on our own, I always defaulted to, I'm not an entrepreneur. Jamie's the entrepreneur. I'm not the one who knows what I'm doing. And I was so quick to cut myself down. I was so quick to say I wasn't good enough. I wasn't not good enough, but I don't know what I'm doing either, right? And then I'm like, hold up now, wait a minute. Let's insert that song, you know, because I do know what I'm doing. I think as women, we discount ourselves. I think as women, we discount our merit. We discount our value. We discount how far we've come. That also can dictate how far you're going to go, if that makes sense.